Hello students, in this video I will teach you chapter number 5 from English Reader. The name of the chapter is The Summit Within. I will read out the summary to you and explain the chapter. Further, you are going to read everything line by line, and if there is anything you don't understand, you'll ask me. So I'll start with reading the summary and explaining the chapter now. This chapter is written by Major H.P.S. Ahluwalia, who was a member of the first successful Indian expedition to Mount Everest in 1965. So the person who has written the story is H.P.S. Ahluwalia, and he was a member of the first successful Indian expedition to Mount Everest in 1965. He was a successful climber of Mount Everest in year 1965. So basically in this lesson, he has talked about his experience of climbing the world's highest mountain, which is Mount Everest, and he also tells the readers about his experience and about how he feels mentally and physically after successfully climbing the mountain. And not to forget, he also talks about the task, about the way people have to climb the mountains. The Summit Within begins with the author expressing how he felt as he stood at the summit of Everest. Summit means the top of the mountain. So basically the story starts with the author expressing how he actually felt when he had reached the top of the mountain. Despite the physical exhaustion, the serene view made him feel multiple emotions. Now, this line means that after reaching to the top point of the mountain, no doubt he was actually physically exhausted, he was very tired, but the view from the top of the mountain, it made him emotional, and there were different feelings that were there within him. He believes that a man who has been to the mountains is never the same before. Now this line means that he believes, he thinks, he feels that if a person climbs a mountain, he changes himself, which means his way of thinking changes, his way of looking at life towards things changes. So before and after climbing the mountain, there are two personalities that a person has. Before climbing a mountain, I am a different person, but after I have climbed, after I have reached the top of the mountain, my way of thinking, my way of approaching towards things, it changes in a positive way. He further talked about climbing the summit of the mind once he had climbed the summit of Everest. Then he further said that after climbing the summit of Everest, the top of the Everest, he is going to climb the summit of his mind also. He is going to reach till the top of his mind and think about his way of thinking and everything, about how he takes things mentally. As soon as he got rid of his physical exhaustion, his mind started wondering as to why people climb mountains. So after he was finally gaining energy and he was not tired anymore, not exhausted anymore after climbing, his mind actually, he started thinking, he started wondering why people climb mountains. He wanted to know the reason why people like to climb mountains. Most people would simply say because it is there. But the author had a more personal answer to the question. Now, most people would say that we climb mountains because it is just there, because it is there to climb. But the author, Ahluwalia, had a different and personal answer to the question. He had always been fascinated by the mountains and would get miserable on being away from them. So, mountains always made him happy and they were very attractive for the author, and every time he was away from this view, from the sight of mountains, he did not feel good. He mentions how the obstacles in climbing a mountain are physical. He further says that it is physically problematic for a person to climb mountain because it is tiring and it exhausts a person. A climb to a summit means endurance, persistence and willpower. So if you want to climb a summit, there are three things you need. First one is endurance. Endurance means that you continue doing something that is painful for a long period of time. Second one is persistence. It means determination. Now what is determination? Wanting to do something at any cost. And third one is willpower. It means mentally strong enough to control your own thoughts. He talks about another question, that is why Everest? Simply because it's the highest and mightiest. Then he further questions that why would we just climb Mount Everest and why not any other mountain? Well, the answer is because Mount Everest is the highest and the mightiest. No wonder how difficult the passage is upwards. The sense of fulfillment, excitement, joy, and satisfaction while standing on top of the summit is incomparable. He further says that even though Everest is highest and mightiest, and while climbing there are a lot of problems, a lot of pain, everything is felt, but once you reach the top of the mountain, the top of the summit, there is a different sense of excitement and joy and happiness and satisfaction that you're standing on top of the highest mountain. So this feeling is, it is the best feeling a person can get, and it cannot be compared with just climbing any other mountain rather than climbing Mount Everest. He further says that there is no perfect answer to the question as to why he climbed Everest. So he says that if somebody asks him why he climbed Mount Everest, he said he will not have an answer to this question. He explains how fellow climbers help each other in fulfilling this conquest. And then he further talks about how people help each other to climb the mountain and reach to the top of it. Standing on the summit makes you realize that the struggle was worthwhile. So the person, the author, the writer is saying that when you stand on top of the mountain, you realize that all of the struggle and the physical pain, it was all worth it because the experience is amazing when you reach the top of the mountain. The view motivates you to rise above your current situations. It means when you reach the top of the mountain and when you see the view, it makes you realize, it makes you learn the fact that you should always rise from the current situation, rise above the problems that you are facing in life. It provides means for communion with God. On the highest peak, he explains how you bow down and make your submission to the God you worship. The author further says that when you reach the highest peak of the mountain, you are closer to God and you bow down your head and you pray to Him and you thank Him for everything that you have. The group had left pictures and relics of the gods they believed in. So, along with the author, the people who were there, who reached the top of the mountain, they had left pictures and sculptures, little sculptures of gods they had believed in. He then continues talking about the other summit, the summit within which is harder to climb. Now, further the author talks about the other summit that he has to climb, and this summit is even more difficult to climb than Mount Everest. And the next summit is going to be the summit of your thoughts, the summit of your mind. So he further expresses that having successfully climbed the Everest has given him the strength to face life problems, and that climbing a summit, internal or that of a mountain, is worthwhile an experience. So he further says that after he has climbed Mount Everest, after taking so much pains and facing so many problems, both physically and mentally, which is not wanting to give up, he believes that the sense of satisfaction that he has got, he is going to, no matter whatever happens, he is going to face all the problems in life. He has gotten that strength by climbing and achieving one goal of, reaching the top of Mount Everest. So this is about it. He ends up saying that all the problems that you're facing, if you put in a little bit of effort, it is going to be worth it, and you just need to be persistent, you need to be endurant, and you have to have a good willpower. So that's it about the whole experience in the chapter that the author is talking about. So that's it for the chapter. To conclude it in 1 or 2 points, this chapter basically talks about the experience of the author of climbing a mountain. He tells us about the experiences he tells us about the feelings and the emotions he had, and he also tells us about how it positively changes the thoughts and personality of a person. So that's it about the chapter. I hope you all have all understood what I was trying to explain. Now please read the chapter line by line. Further, if you have doubts, you can always ask me. And that's it for the video. Thank you so much for your patience, all of you.